Hello.
Hello.
How's it going today?
It's Wednesday.
Wednesday. When? No,
We're
it's not.
halfway
It's
through.
Tuesday. Tuesday, Alexis.
It is Tuesday. There you go. That's how the day is.
2/5 of the way through. Okay, well, we're a little bit behind schedule already. It's 12:31, so let's get started. Welcome to what I wish I knew before scaling my business. So, if you haven't joined us before, thank you for being here. My name is Taylor Ammons. I am the integrator and operations lead of accounting therapy. And I've been with accounting therapy since 2020. And prior to that, I actually had my own small business in the apparel wholesale world for 7 years. So I have some tidbits here of my own.
And I am Alexis Sadler. I am the CEO and sales team leader at Accounting Therapy. I started with Accounting Therapy in 96, and I have been running Accounting Therapy, been the CEO, I guess, since 2020.
Yes, you have,
And that's why you're here.
which is when you brought me on.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's jump into it. So, Lex, you've seen significant growth in accounting therapy, I mean, over the course of your span here,
Yeah.
and really kind of taking a new trajectory in the last 5 years since you've been leading our team. What do you really need in place before you scale?
I mean, just like hunting treasures, you need a plan. You need to know where you're going.
You
I'd
need a
say that
treasure map.
you do. You need your treasure map. I'd say that the biggest thing is really planning out the people part of it and the process part of it. If you do not want to sit down and figure out, okay, I'm going to start with me and I'm going to end up at 47 people making $10 million a year, at least plan out your next step. Where are you going to go? How much money are you going to earn? What is the next role you're going to hire? And how is that going to get you where it is you want to go? I think having a plan in place is number one. Flying by the seat of your pants is fine, but it's not going to give you the ability to scale unless you get really, really lucky.
Totally. And just to add to that, I think you're never too small to put that plan into place. And that's something I look back and wish we would have done. So I was a team of two. And we did have some like interns and people that worked for us like throughout the 7 years. But I felt like because it was so small, it felt awkward almost to create this plan and to really to create like roles or responsibilities or like, if you're one person, right? You're our solopreneurs out there. It's like you wear so many different hats. Like start putting roles and responsibilities under those hats. So then as you bring in other people, you can start to pass those hats off. And there's kind of this step of this separation, right, between those things. Or for people, there's so many people that just have a business partner. And again, like when I started, like we were all doing it together because we didn't know what we were doing. So it was like, okay, we got to do this, we got to do this. But I think like looking back, if I could have separated that role and responsibility and said, no, this is where you take ownership, this is where I take ownership, and we come together, of course, to meet weekly or whatever, I think that would have been really powerful. Even
Yeah.
though at the time it felt awkward, right? To
Yeah.
say like, oh,
Well,
we need a Monday meeting, but
yeah.
well, you work side by side with this person 5 days a week. So
Well, plus with having a process documented, if you have to be out or go do something, then that other person knows how you do it and they're not just figuring it out, wasting time. It's documented. This is how it's done. Even just the basics of things. So,
yeah, definitely. And I think that's something you've led really well is putting those things into place. As maybe you're not building all of them, but that was something. It's like, okay, we need repeatable
yeah.
processes,
Yep.
especially if you're going, like you said, going to start passing these things off. So
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
super powerful. All right, so how do you know when you're ready to scale?
Oh, I mean, there's a lot of different things, but I think again, the being ready to scale is having that plan, getting your processes in place, and having the ability to say, okay, I am a one-man shop or two-man shop, whatever it might be, and I want to bring in somebody to do this thing. Okay. When I was hiring, it was like, I just need a human, just bring a human in. So having the process set up to say, here is your role, your responsibility, and this is how you do it. I
Mhm.
think once you can identify exactly what that person is going to be, that's your first step in scaling, is knowing what they're going to be doing, how they're going to be doing it, how long it's going to take them to do it, how much you're paying them to do it, whatever it might be. I would say that is the first step. Bringing a human in can be helpful, but it can also take more time than you would actually be saving. And I mean, that story.
Yeah, totally. So that's more on the like people side of scaling. So my like tidbit of input on this is more on the like the revenue side of scaling. And for us, it was we needed to learn how to say no. That's what I wish I would have known. We wanted to be ready to scale and we needed to scale in terms of money and cash flow, but we got ourselves into a point where we said yes to everything because it was
Yes.
money in the bank versus being really strategic about having one really great product or service or whatever it is you do and focusing on this one singular path and making that as great as it can be, instead of like diversifying so much just to get money in the door.
Yeah.
If you're doing, I mean, in our world, like if you're doing bookkeeping just because somebody comes to you and wants you to do HR, it's like, well, yeah, I can, but should I?
And
No,
do
you
you
don't.
want to?
Exactly. It's like, yeah, that's more money, but at the end of the day, that doesn't mean you're gonna make more money. Take it from me. Um, so I think for me, being ready to scale, you just have one thing that you do or a set of things that you do really, really well,
Yeah,
making sure you have that in place.
absolutely.
So back to
Absolutely.
the people side of it, how did hiring change for you once you started scaling?
So I kind of mentioned this a little bit. So back in the day, we didn't really have processes. It was, we get a client, we do the work. Everything lived in my head. I had a handy dandy Excel spreadsheet that had passwords on it. That was really all we had.
So
But
secure.
yeah, very secure. But back in the day, I was also young, so don't make this
Yeah.
mistake, youngins. But I would literally, it was like a vibe check. It was like, are they cool? Can I have a conversation with them? It was not the ideal situation, but you live and you learn. So note to everybody out there, do not do just a vibe check and hire somebody. But now, thanks to your help, we've really like gotten to the point where it's like we're looking at their QuickBooks skill, their writing skills, their communication skills, do they show up to things on time? Are they a culture fit? We have our team like each of our, not each, but some of our team members also talk to them to see if that vibe check is there after we've tested out their skills and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's changed a lot. And I have to say that, it is a lot more time in bringing somebody in and making sure that they're the right fit. But I have to say our efficiency and production and all that other part of it is way more valuable. We're spending less time training somebody on how to open Outlook and send an email, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, that part of the people part of it is very different, and it's mostly thanks to the processes that we've set up. We have first step, second step, all that kind of fun stuff. So I would
Yeah,
say that's probably the biggest difference. There's vibe checks, but it's like step 5.
sure. Yeah, I mean, it's worked in a little bit. It's in the
Yeah,
beginning too. Don't
we got to
worry.
make sure it's a culture fit.
So looking back, what do you think is, besides maybe just hiring for Vibe, what do you think is some of the biggest mistakes you've made while hiring, and what have you learned from them?
um Biggest mistakes, I would say probably the biggest mistake is hiring for potential. You
Mhm.
see something in somebody, they might not have all the skills that you want, but they have a little bit of here and a little bit of there. Like maybe they could grow into this thing, and you talk to them about it and they're like, yeah, I want to grow into that thing. It doesn't always work out. We kind of had that experience this year. Unfortunately, you don't know the effort that that employee will put in to reach that potential. So it may be very dependent on you to make sure that that potential happens, as opposed to them putting in, their own efforts and stuff like that to get there. So the other part of that too is when you hire for potential, you're giving them you're setting the expectation that you're going to grow to this. So you're going to be making this much money and you're going to have these responsibilities. And if they don't get to that point where they're doing those things, they're not going to be making the money they want to make. They're not going to be happy, and they're eventually going to leave. And you've spent your time in training and all
Yeah.
that other stuff to get this person where they want to go, and they're not going at the speed you need them to go to get the raise that they want to get. So
Yeah.
I don't think we'll do that anymore. I don't think we're going to
Yeah.
be hiring for potential. I mean, I have nothing against hiring people that are not at the senior accountant level, but we're
Sure.
not going to hire them for the potential to be a senior accountant. We're going to hire them
Yeah.
for the role that they're ready for.
Right. Totally. I just had this thought too. It's no secret to anybody who's listened to Alexis and I talk before that we are diehard followers of EOS and the traction model. And
Yep.
they have a concept called the get it, want it, capacity to do it, in
Mm.
which we bring that into our annual reviews and kind of give each team member a grade, if you will, on their capacity to do it, their get it factor, and do they want it. And it's, of course, I think the ultimate end of hiring is identifying those things, but I don't think I've ever thought about it in a like structured format of working through those steps like with a potential hire. I think
Oh.
that could be interesting and help us determine, okay, get it, like what do we need them to get right now, and are we hiring for that?
Oh, I love that.
So thought.
Just another step in the process.
Just another thought. Add that to the list. I'll chime in here again. Like my biggest thing for hire, or my biggest mistake when hiring, was not having a plan in place to manage. So we were
Mm,
a two owner team, and we brought in a full-time employee who had previously been an intern of ours, who was amazing. We did not have a plan in place to manage her at all. It was the three of us working together day in and day out, and of course, you develop this friendship. We're all similar ages, that, but not having that structured leadership plan in place to have a quarterly conversation or even an annual review or a weekly check-in to give feedback, you kind of lose that structured opportunity to give feedback,
yeah.
because then it starts to feel uncomfortable when it's just on a whim versus if you have a set aside time, maybe weekly, monthly, or even annually, to say, hey, these things need improvement. I think that would have been super helpful for me. And again,
Yeah.
that goes
Not.
back to like, you're never too small. Like, if you're a
Mm,
solopreneur and you're looking to bring somebody in, put that in place from the get go. It'll make it so much easier to have those conversations moving
yeah.
forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Not having that management structure, or even just the idea of management in hiring, makes it really hard to have those hard conversations, to just
Yeah.
have that out of the blue. Hey, can we talk for a minute?
Yeah, totally. Nobody
Nobody
wants
loves that.
that. They need to be in a headset or a mind space to receive that feedback.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
so,
for sure.
what was I just going to say? Lost my train of thought. That's okay. All right. Moving on. So, as we've grown, how are you balancing, or how did you balance shifting from doing the work to leading the team?
Yeah. So I feel like there's two different people in the service-based world and just in the communities I've been in, the conversations I've had with people, there are people that they're, not to say I wasn't connected, but they're very connected to their clients. They want to be important to their clients. They want to be the service provider. And then there's the other people that are, I just want to bring them in. I want to give them to my team and I, don't want to talk to them, not to say those are very basic, but in a general sense, I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle where it's like, I want my team to be there and provide the service, but I want to know what's going on. I want to know about their kids. I want to know about, they got a new dog or went on a vacation. So I'm kind of like somewhere in the middle. But I think the big part of balancing it is determining what part you want to be a part of and delegating the rest of it. I want to know the things. I want to be a part of the, oh, we're implementing a new app, or we have a new team member that's going to be doing this new thing, whatever it might be. I want to be involved in that kind of stuff. But the day to day, I'm going to leave that to the bookkeeping team. They're better at it than I am anyways. I can't focus on give 100% to my clients and 100% to my company. So, they have it. But basically, long story short is delegate. You got to delegate the things you don't want to do or you're not very good at. Maybe there's things you want to do, but you're not good at. You should delegate those as well. I'd say that's probably the easiest way to balance is to just hand off the things you don't want to do. That's the beginning of it, and then you got to start handing off things you want to do. But, that's the sad part.
Yeah. And I think two things popped into my head. One, I think part of this goes back to control, right? Like as you're scaling, when you're the only person or you're doing it with one other person, like you're
Yeah.
in control of everything. So it's learning how to let go of that control as you grow. And like you said, figure out what you really want to maintain control of, and delegate the rest. But then eventually you're going to start to have to give, if you want to keep scaling, you're going to have to give little bits of that control away. And one thing I'll say on that is like having very clear expectations in place. Um, defining what success looks like and doing this in writing so that whoever you're giving this control to
Yeah.
knows what's expected of them and
Yeah.
can have something to refer back because it's super crystal clear in our minds. And I think sometimes we forget that
Yep.
that lives in our minds. Not everybody has the same idea of,
Yeah.
what that thing is.
Yeah. I'll add a little tidbit on delegation too that I have learned and I love kind of a little bit is when you're delegating things to your team and you're giving them things that they've never done before or they're scared to do or whatever it might be, they just might fail. They just might. And it's
That's
totally
scary.
okay. It's totally okay. Your team is allowed to fail,
Yeah.
Think about how many times you failed at, processing this order or talking to that agent or, whatever it might be. Like that's how we have become good at what we've done is we have failed. We have to, when we're delegating, we have to give them that grace. Like you're going to fail and it's okay, but you're going to learn from it and you're probably never going to do it again because nobody likes the feeling of failing. So I just want to throw that out there with the whole delegation thing.
Yeah. The amount of times I'm like, oh, well, I'll never do that again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hindsight's 2020. So,
Yeah, for sure.
so did scaling affect your relationships with clients?
I would say that I'm not as in their business, if you will. I don't get to talk to them about the cool restaurant that they went to on Friday or anything like that. I do miss that.
Yes, clients, we're looking.
So I definitely miss that part of it. But towards like 2018, 2019, 2020, I was really feeling torn and rushed in doing the work that I was doing because I would have to do the bookkeeping and then I would have to make the sales call and then I would have to do our own financials, and there were all these different pieces and my brain was so divided by all of these. It was almost like a relief to have a team member because I then knew that they would get all the attention and care
Yeah.
and everything that they needed. So did it change? Yes. I don't have that necessarily personal one-on-one connection with them. I still talk to them though. I mean, I still get emails from them or phone calls from them and stuff like that. We still are connected, but not like, how it was when that regular conversation. But I think it's welcome. I think they appreciate it too, because they know they're getting more attention from my team than they would ever get from me, especially at this point with, how things are changing here.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. It's
but
like the concept of doing everything and doing nothing well.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
the
not
Jill of all trades is good at doing a little bit of a lot of things. I want to be great at one thing.
that. Yes, for sure.
But
Have you ever taken on the wrong type of client or added like the wrong type of service just to keep scaling?
absolutely. I think any service provider has, in the beginning, as you're growing, you're like, oh, I got this new team member. I need to get some more revenue in. Yeah, let's do it. Let's bring in
Yeah,
this guy who is really bad at communicating, or this person that just can't seem to get us the information we needed, but it'll be okay, we'll figure it out. I've absolutely done that. If you guys can avoid doing that, do it. It's more work. Neither of those clients were profitable, by the way. They both ended up being losses, even though they were relatively good monthly income. The cost and the time and the management and
yeah,
me getting involved and you getting involved, it's just 0 out of 10 do not recommend.
yeah. Yeah, I can totally identify with that. I mean, we've said in my business, said yes to one particular deal. It was an activewear deal. And, we stood to make $500,000 in a quarter. And it was like, how can we say no? We need the money, we need cash. We didn't have experience in activewear. We didn't have activewear factories. Like it was a total shot in the dark. And sure, we probably like one to one, like product to revenue had a profit margin, but the amount of time and tears and effort that it took us, like if we could have quantified that, I think it would have, it was a loss, 100%. And it took that precious time away from the things that you do well. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just that thing that you said earlier. Get really good at that one thing before you decide to add something else.
yeah,
And don't chase the money. It will come. There's plenty of stuff out there, plenty of ways to make money out there. Just
yeah,
do what you love.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So shifting into like more mindset, personal growth, what was the hardest mindset shift for you?
So this is where my growing up in a world in accounting in my accounting world with a different generation. I'll just say it that
Okay.
way. I there's two things that changed. It was all people. Definitely people was the biggest mind shift or mindset change I had to make, however you worded that. So it was definitely the people part of it. It was the employee part of it. And it was also like my peers in my accounting world.
Hmm.
The one with with my employees and team members and partners for that matter is I had to realize not everybody was good at what I was good at, but they were also way better at things that I was bad at. That was really hard for me to connect with. I know that sounds completely ridiculous at this point, but at the time it was like, I am a superstar in this thing that I do. You know, everybody should be able to learn this. If I can learn it, anybody can learn it. But
Yeah.
um
Oh, but do I?
so I think that's the biggest thing. I think we still struggle with it a little bit here, is defining what people are good at here and making sure that they are tasked with those things. I think we're getting better at it. I think our team is still small enough too, where it's like somebody's got to pick this up, somebody's got to try. But I think that was my biggest thing, is just kind of learning that like there are people that are really good at things that I am not good at. And those are the people that I want on my team. I need to be the best at my thing. They can be the best at their thing. Like you and I are very similar, but very opposite. Like we make a
Totally.
great team, because you're great at, processes and staying organized. And I am good at coming up with ideas. And, but between the two of us, we have this like great team. So that's kind of the people part of it. I had to realize that people have their skills that they're good at, and there are some things that they're just not going to be good at. The other thing was the community part of it, the peers. Like I grew up thinking like I can't share my secrets with them. Those are my secrets. Like I'm the only one that knows how to do that. Ridiculous. You got to have a community. You got to have your peers that you can talk through things with. There are so many smart people out there that can give you good advice or have been through something that you're struggling with. And you could do the same for them too. What's the phrase? The rising tide rises all ships, something like that. If we can all be better and share our information with each other, I mean, and you could go to the ends of the earth, but that was probably my biggest mind shift. That was a really long way to say people, but that was
Yeah.
that was my big thing, is like thinking about people differently and how the different skills, and then having that community that you can share information with and grow together. So
Yeah. I wish I would have had that. I don't know if that exists in the apparel industry, but if it doesn't, somebody out there create it. You need it.
can you imagine what it could do for the industry?
No, it would have been so nice just to have people to ask questions to. Not that they would know the answers necessarily, but they have the same mindset. They're in the same industry. They can bounce ideas back and forth. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Just to
um,
work through things with people.
yeah.
It's an amazing thing.
Okay, so last question before we wrap up, and we do have a Q&A that I'll answer live. If you had to scale again from scratch, what is the first thing, or what would you do differently?
Um, oh my goodness. So many ideas. I would probably kind of take a step back and figure out how so many things. I think it would be kind of around money. That would be the part of it, is start with how much money do I want to make? How much money do I need to make to have that next person on my team? And make a plan related to how am I going to get to the point where I have that thing to do my next step. So it's almost like my current plan is kind of focusing on the next plan. So I would definitely figure out the dollar part of it, because that's always the hardest part, is when do you hire your team member? If you have a savings account that has that in there, then you know that you can have it, but it would probably be related to that. Plus I would definitely document my processes a whole lot sooner. 25 years of no processes was a really long time. so,
Yeah,
so
yeah, for
yeah.
sure. And on the budgeting factor, we did do a webinar, oh geez, maybe like a year or two ago now, on annual planning. And that kind of ties in some of our budgeting strategies on how we plan for future like growth and people. So you can definitely check that out. The one thing I would learn to do differently is learn to say no and do one thing really, really well. So
Yeah.
that's my advice. So we did have one question in our Q&A: what management structure do we follow? And that was EOS, which is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. The best book to start with is Traction, and
Yes.
that is from Gina Wickman over.
Yeah. That's where it all started for us.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
what really changed our trajectory in like 2020, 2021. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. As Beluche.
All right.
All right. Well, that was fun.
That was fun. That like flew by. I had to skip over a lot of questions that I had. So
I guess I talked too much today.
no, I think it was all good. I think we got in like some really good key points. So
Yeah, agree.
it's like, oh, I wish I could. Part
Go
of me
on
is like,
forever.
I wish I could go back and redo everything I did again.
Yeah.
But then I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be building this with you and I wouldn't know what I know. So
That's true.
It's a living you learn, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. All right, my dear. Well, thank you guys all. We'll see you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.